They hit the wall, and then they blame everything on men.
That's fair
men
enough,
want
but
traditional women, but
50%,
there's nothing traditional about
try
men
in person.
anymore.
Yeah.
We have to split
there's
the
nothing
bills with
traditional
them.
about women anymore.
I thought men are supposed to lead women, so when men get weaker, isn't that essentially what's making the women weaker? And
It's a fair point to say that yes, as men, we ought to take some responsibility. There's like the super tradcon line, which is basically as men, like we bear full responsibility, like as leaders, like the position we find ourselves in, you can say, oh, it's fully men's fault. However, in order to be a leader, you need to have people willing to follow. And feminism has taught women to not follow. Here's the thing though, a lot of women desire those traits in men that you could consider leadership traits, assertive, decisive, etc., leadership, dominant, whatever you want to say. Women want these traits in men, but they don't want to follow. They want the leader, but they don't want to follow.
Single check. If you're single, heart this. Comment where you're from.
Whatever bad women, it happens because of men. And whatever good that happens to women, happens because of themselves. That's the narrative women will have you believe. It goes to show their sense of entitlement and hypocrisy when it comes to their expectations from men, add the delusions they have when it comes to wanting to be treated like queens, which I'm sorry to say, they're not. When you need a single friend and a babysitter to get out to bars and clubs, it can seem like an older person's game, but not everyone thinks they will find love online. For solitary parents, who describe themselves as being alone, alienated, vulnerable, and useless, there is a real sense that the world has become smaller.
Another reason that women could have lower reported happiness is because they're still shoring up on most of the household duties, despite now also taking up, you know what I mean? They're doing still a lion's share of domestic work.
They don't get married anyway, so they don't even have households.
That's not true. They're still cohabitating. They're still,
There's
even within marriage.
I agree. Cohabitation makes women unhappy too. Yeah.
I mean, even within marriage now, you don't think there's a ton of marriages in which women are also working and then also shoring up a lion's share of the household duties, and that's why they're unhappy, because now they're being burdened in two directions.
Yeah. Sure. But so what's the solution to that?
I think
the solution
is men shoring up more on domestic duties, but they won't because of freaking tradcons and neocons who are telling them that it's gay and beta if they do these certain tasks.
It is gay and beta most of the time. I agree.
And I also think that's why men are suffering.
Men are wary of women hitting the wall. But you know what? Over time, men grew wary, and men are not approaching women who are hitting the wall anymore. And even if they are not committing to them because they know the inside story of these older women.
I think that if I got into a relationship with the kind of guys that I like now, yes, that it would fail.
That's a bad mental model.
NFL players and stuff.
At least you know. Most women don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really bad way to look. You're basically like black-pilled about your relationship. Like it's gonna fail no matter what.
That's not really what I said. I'm
though.
Like, it's the certain type of guys I guess I interact with now. I feel that I'm growing out of it because of things I've been through.
Do you regret choosing those men as men you took serious?
I don't. I
They
can't.
brought no value. You said they brought no value.
So I genuinely, as a person, cannot hold hate in my heart. I don't hold a grudge. I can't be mad. So when you ask that, no, I still have love for those people. I think every decision is a good decision and leads you on the path to where you need to be.
In order to get the guys they really wanted all to themselves, these women made the decision to put secure men on the back foot. However, this didn't work out as planned, because casual dating culture as we know it was born as soon as social media and dating apps became widely used, marking the start of the slow demise of dating and relationships.
What social media has done is allowed women a platform to kind of showcase their body, their preferences, basically put themselves on the marketplace. Men don't really have that same access, so we're creating that division between them. And what it's done is allowed women to leverage their beauty in a way that they've never been able to do before. Before, if you were a beautiful girl, you were just beautiful in your city, and people would like you, but you'd marry the guy in the city and you'd have a great life. Unfortunately, now if you're a beautiful girl, you can be a beautiful girl to the world and you can have 1 million followers. So it makes every man disposable. Any man she's with essentially becomes disposable. So unfortunately, what's happening is women are learning that they become this almost like a deity in terms of beauty in a way that they've never had before. So that's what I think is happening for women. In terms of men, the main problem that's occurring is the access to pornography and the access to beautiful women.
Guys, as you can now see, younger women are frequently chosen on dating apps instead of ladies in their 40s and 50s. I mean, who didn't see this coming? Dating can be challenging for divorced women, according to data from Match.com, because it can be challenging, stressful, and worrying to look for a second chance at love when children come first. Being a solo mom can be very challenging.
Damn. Who's it easier to have 20 people, me or you?
I'm not 20 people.
But you can do it if you wanted to, right? Way easier.
Yeah, it would
Okay,
be.
so that's why it's not respected. But if a dude can have 20 girls, he is respected. It's hard to do. Why is a PhD respected? Because it's not easy to get, you know?
Older women wouldn't be trying to find a man to commit to them on dating apps if there wasn't a hookup culture. And keep in mind who was ultimately responsible for establishing the hookup culture. The future of dating for women and the next generation of women was ruined by none other than women, and not men, as some might want to believe. All because they wanted to date the guys they wanted and have casual fun with men who at that time were looking for commitment. Therefore, I would want to ask these older ladies who contributed to the demise of dating, was it really worth it?
Last time I was single, I was 24 and the dating pool was everyone. And now it's like a shallow puddle of age-appropriate men who are old and gross, and I don't want to do that.
Dating after divorce is total chaos. Women are annoyed by having to start over, but now they're at the end of the line. Even worse if they're single mothers. The irony is that their standards are higher than when they were young and beautiful. Now, on the wall, they want the perfect man to be their partner. That's why they feel more dissatisfied, because they've already made the wrong choice once and don't want to repeat the same mistake with a beta provider. For a father, the first one with good genes will do, but for a stepfather, the one with the strongest wallet is needed. That's why men, when dating women over 30, feel like they're in a job interview.
The sad thing is that the exact women who contributed to the decline of dating and relationships are still complaining about the lack of good men on dating apps today, and their daughters, who are now in their late 20s to early and mid-30s, are in the same situation, searching for a good man to settle down after failing to follow in their mother's footsteps. Due to how nasty divorce has become, none of those guys are attempting to get married, and no man wants to marry up a lady who has been plowed by dozens of men. Men are no longer prepared to risk their retirement savings for a woman who is only in it for the money and wants to grab all the guy worked so hard to achieve. Men are going their own way. Men don't want a wife or girlfriend who is simply dating them because the other men they loved didn't want her. More and more elderly ladies are beginning to understand that men are no longer idiots and that they have become accustomed to living without them and being much happier as a result. The elderly women you see on dating apps today are the same women who were supposed to be strong and successful independent women in the past. They're the same women now who whine all the time and radiate negativity across the internet. You guys need to keep in mind that these ladies have had years to try and change their negative habits and perhaps meet a nice man. A lot of these women were once married. However, they believed they could advance on their husbands, so they betrayed them, took their children and money, and then returned to the dating scene with the hope that they would bypass all the other women and land a top-tier man again. Wrong. Men have realized what they needed to know and understand, and these older women now have no choice but to actually settle for someone they won't like. Men prefer younger women. Never feel sorry for any of these women or attempt to save them because they willingly place themselves in that situation in an effort to obtain a better and bigger deal. But the reality is commonly harsh because all that most of these post-war women received was someone who didn't want to submit to them in the way they wished. When younger women are at their prime and easier to find than ever before, why would men prefer to date an older woman? This is especially true in the current economic climate when we are on the verge of another recession and things are getting difficult. Guys with money can choose to date young, attractive women rather than a woman who's already hitting the wall. So why would a man spend more money on a lady who is in a poorer physical condition and is seeking an unrealistic commitment? Never feel the slightest pity for any of these ladies. Instead, keep your veins cool and use them just for practice. Women are the ones who brought this on themselves by divorcing their spouses in search of better lives and better vistas. It stinks of desperation when you commit to an older lady who spent decades lending her time and body to other men while ignoring you as a potential choice when you were in your prime. Thus, as I always suggest, be extremely cautious around women in general and older women in particular. They simply want to stop riding the roller coaster and want to settle down, so they want to give you another chance. When they were younger, they had their opportunity with you. Guys will no longer participate in these games since they are aware of their perspectives on relationships and life. There is no doubt that the world is difficult for women in their late 30s and early 40s, but But that doesn't mean they should be the only options for men who can do a whole lot better with women in their prime. The point is, dating apps are a no-go for any decent man these days. You tap on that app if you want to join the simp fest. If you do end up on a dating app, be wary of women who want to settle down after they've had their fun with Chad and Tyrone. It's a trap. You've been warned. Dating is a different game for mature women. In their mid-30s, women utilize dating apps in the hopes of finally swiping right on any reliable and fertile man who can serve as their retirement plan, help them reproduce, and eventually assist them in having and raising children. They don't understand how badly burnt older men have been by divorce, child support disputes, celibate marriages, and repeated rejections over the years, learning the lesson not to settle with women who have crossed their mid-30s. Older ladies might have found older men who would marry them in the past, when most women were not out on display on the streets, and because men were ignorant of women and the judicial system. However, when men began to witness their friends and family members being wrongly convicted in family court, and their supposedly loving wives turning on them because they were unhappy and for the love of money, men began to realize the deception of what was happening. Years later, men began to make the decision to go their own way. When you use dating apps today, you will still come across simps giving older women attention and a lot of validation that they don't get from their current or previous husbands. This attention and validation, by the way, is still nowhere near the attention they used to pull in their younger years. When younger women took on the modern woman narrative, they were told that a man would always be there later on in their late 30s or 40s. They were told that it's okay to have fun, mess around with guys, focus on their career, and eventually, the right guy who will do everything for them as his life's purpose will come to them. Men are scared of divorce. You need to be careful when you're on dating apps, and these older ladies are paying you such much attention because they will divorce you to take your resources since they are not wife material and are only seeking a retirement plan. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Support us and help us spread support for men around the world. Do comment and share your thoughts. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.